Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking our Commonwealth Attorney Howard Gwynn, who joins us, along with Valerie Muth from his office. They are strong partners in our ongoing efforts to keep Newport News safe. We couldn't do that without them, and I always appreciate seeing them here in support of us. Also, Assistant City Manager Alan Archer. Alan, thank you for being here. You're also a steadfast supporter. I'd like you all to take a look at this picture. Keir and Chloe Johnson have been missing for over 2 months, and their family deserves answers and to know where they are. This is a very emotional case, and our department is committed to solving this and bringing Keir and Chloe home. There are very few details we can release because we are at a very critical phase of the investigation, and it's too important for us to jeopardize. We have seen where some misguided folks are using social media about this case, spreading rumors and even accusing our agency of not investigating or not staying connected with the family and so on. To those people and the people who read these comments, I urge you, don't believe everything you read on social media. In fact, you're not helping in the least. In fact, you're probably making it more challenging for the kind of information we need to bring this case to closure to come forward. Just stop with the social media. Since the Newport News Police acquired coordination of this case on May 14th, we have dedicated approximately 19 people, investigators in one way or another, from 6 different divisions of our department. And those 19 people collectively have spent more than 2,500 hours investigating this case. And as I stand here today, those folks are actively working that case currently. We really want to thank our local, state, and federal partners who have been involved in this case from the beginning. This truly is a group effort, the investigation. I want to issue a call to action to the community. We know that there are people out there who know where Keir and Chloe are. We need to hear from you. Our investigators are conducting interviews and seeking answers. If anyone has any information, please call the crime line at 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. We've stated this time and time again, but to reiterate, the crime line is anonymous. We have no way of tracking what number calls, who the people are, where you're calling from. It's completely anonymous. If your tip leads to an arrest, you're eligible for a cash reward. But more important than the reward in this case is closure that the family can receive by you helping us solve this case. Please call us with any information that will help our detectives. Now, following this briefing, as is our practice, I will be entertaining some questions. And while we know that our friends in the media have questions about this case, we hope you understand that I will not be answering any questions regarding this case due to the sensitive stage we are at in the investigation. It is not worth jeopardizing closure on this case to try and be responsive on an area where we shouldn't go. And I'll repeat it in even more blunt terms. Don't ask me questions about this case because I won't answer them. And if there are repeated questions, then we're done with the briefing. We'll entertain as many questions as we can about other matters. We cannot talk about this case any further. Thank you for your understanding. I'd like to give an update on the Violent Crimes Reduction Task Force. Since we last briefed you in April, you can see a great number of activity arrests, felony charges, guns off the street. This is a hard-working group of folks, and we're really seeing the payoff now. Since the task force began full-time operations in February, they have made almost 300 arrests and removed 72 firearms from the streets. They've also seized more than 757 grams of cocaine, 2,135 grams of marijuana, and 35 grams of heroin, all totaling a street value of over $108,000. Now, our task force continues to work with our partners in the region, and over the last several months, they have worked with the Hampton Police Division, the Newport News Sheriff's Office, and the York-Poquoson Sheriff's Office, as well as various divisions of our departments. And we're also participating, the Violent Crime Task Force and other units in our department, in a broader regional conversation with federal and state partners on how we collaborate to deal with violent crime on the peninsula. So I think while the nature of their work isn't a happy topic, the good news is we've got some hard-working folks out there that are paying the dividends in the investment we've made in this group. Our officers continue to tweet photos of firearms removed from the streets of Newport News. And again, since our last briefing in April through June of this year, we've recovered 175 firearms off our streets. That includes 134 handguns, pistols, 26 revolvers, 2 shotguns, and 13 rifles. From the map on the next slide, you can see that firearms are being recovered by officers all over the city. Our officers are committed to removing illegal weapons off the streets and keeping Newport News safe. And I would add that I'm particularly proud of the restraint shown by officers in taking these guns. Despite the national narrative that seems to dominate today, that the police are wildly and excessively using deadly force, in all cases of these 175 firearms, many of which were taken directly off persons, our officers haven't had to fire one shot. There has been no deadly gunfights involved. They put themselves at great risk taking these guns off dangerous criminals who are looking to use those guns either in an assaultive manner or to commit a robbery. And our officers are showing great restraint, and I'm exceptionally proud of their effort. By means of a crime alert, we'd like to share with you a pattern of robberies, not high in number, but over a very intense, narrow window of time, and we need the public's help in solving these. We are currently investigating 3 robberies and an attempted robbery, all that occurred within just over a 24-hour period in a particularly close proximity. The first incident occurred on July 3rd at 1:20 in the morning. The second incident at July 3rd at 4:40 in the morning. And the third incident on July 3rd at 5:30 in the morning. Again, all within blocks of each other. And the fourth incident, an attempted robbery, occurred the next morning July 4th at 1:42 in the morning. Additional details of each incident, as well as the suspect description, are outlined on the slides in front of you. In each incident, one of the suspects was armed with a shotgun, and in 3 of the incidents, a black SUV was seen in the area prior to or during the incident. I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that these are probably all related to the same set of offenders. We are asking, and you can put up the map to show the next, you can see how close all these are by the green dots on the map. We are asking that anyone in the community who has information about these crimes, call the crime line, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. And it could be that you don't know for sure about the crime, but you know someone who is driving a black SUV on July 3rd and July 4th. Or you know a group of 3 or 4 guys who were hanging out together who talked about engaging in some early morning activity. All we need is an inclination of who the players are. Call it in on Crime Line, and we've got detectives eager to follow up on that information. Another significant case that we handled that involved a significant level of manpower was the search warrant execution at the Giza Social Club. In the early morning hours of June 10th, members of the Newport News and Hampton Tactical Operations teams, along with our Organized Crime Division and Central Precinct officers, executed a search warrant at the Giza Social Club, which is at 1065 J. Clyde Morris Boulevard. This came as a result of extensive investigations into the activities going on at the business and involving the business tenants. At the time of executing the search warrant and when the operation was concluded, a total of 58 subjects were arrested and or summoned. And seizures included cocaine, marijuana, and several firearms. A large police presence was required because of the activity that was observed during the surveillance before execution of the search warrant, and we knew the number of subjects that were going to have to be detained was high. Upon clearing the business and completing the search warrant, the Fire Marshal's Office and the Virginia ABC Liquor Control Police and the city's Codes and Compliance all entered the building and observed many violations, resulting in condemning of the business. So we feel good that this business is out of business based on the number of violations that were ongoing. The investigation is continuing at this time. It could even result in additional charges. Throughout much of the early and mid part of 2017, the entire Hampton Roads region was plagued with a series of cellular phone store burglaries, over 30 of them. And they spanned multiple jurisdictions on both sides of the Hampton Roads waterway. On May 31st, based on the surveillance by our Central Precinct detectives, their hard work and determination paid off when we were able to intervene and arrest 2 adults and 4 juveniles who had, we believe, been responsible for the bulk of these crimes. In the early morning hours of May 31st, the Virginia State Police were involved in a vehicle pursuit with one of the suspect vehicles. 2 other suspect vehicles broke away from the pursuit and fled the area. At approximately 6:40 in the morning, Master Police Officer J.L. Harris was at the Walmart located in the 6000 block of Jefferson and observed several suspicious individuals in the store. He made his way to the parking lot where he saw the two vehicles that had broken off of the earlier pursuit, and he called for additional police units to wait for backup. When one of the vehicles began to leave, he intervened, and due to his vast experience level and investigative skills and patience, he was able to interrupt the departure of one of the suspect vehicles and was instrumental in taking several people into custody. Now, I would add, having gone down to the scene of that and spoken to Master Police Officer Harris at the scene, it was a very dynamic situation. There were multiple guns in the car that he initiated the traffic stop. And again, he showed tremendous professionalism and restraint in facing down deadly force and controlling the situation without requiring the use of force on his part. The detectives and other units and other agencies worked together to debrief not only those suspects, but the ones taken into custody earlier by the state police, and ultimately later that morning, the third vehicle was recovered and suspects apprehended. In all, 3 stolen autos and 5 stolen firearms were recovered. As many as a dozen cellular phones were recovered, presumably all stolen. A large amount of forensic evidence was recovered and has been sent to the State Crime Lab for comparison with evidence obtained at all the burglaries. We also cleared several dozen larceny from vehicle cases in Suffolk and York County. And since the morning of these arrests, there have been no cellular phone store burglaries committed by the group. This, in effect, ended this burglary pattern, and we're very proud of the initiative, hard work, and courage shown by the officers who were able to bring this case to closure. Multiple units within our department worked on this, along with the Virginia State Police, the Hampton Police Division, the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office, the Suffolk Police Department, and the Newport News Sheriff's Office. Great job by all. Finally, today we want to celebrate an announcement that went out to all of you last week. We're very excited to talk about NNPD Online. It went live on July 5th, and this system is designed as an alternative for citizens to file a police report when the incident or offense meets criteria as outlined. So, for example, if a bike is stolen from your front porch, there's no evidence, there's no suspects, no known timeline, no one was injured, you can go online and file that police report without having to call, without having to wait for an officer to respond. We will obtain that report, make sure that all the information that's needed is there. It gets filed and processed through our regular report process, and you can then contact your insurance company if that's what you choose to do. It's an alternative from the other options we provide, which could be having an officer respond or filing a police report via telephone. Some of the types of crimes you can use this system to file a report on include identity theft, lost or stolen property, vandalism, and harassment. Once the system has been utilized for a while and we get a better read on how it's going, we will take a look at the utilization and can expand potentially the number of cases it will work on. We think it's a great benefit and a good example of customer service for our citizens, but we also want to make sure if it's important for you to have a police officer to respond, we will send an officer. The difference is, if it's not an emergency, you may have to wait to get an officer there. We prioritize our calls and send our officers to urgent emergency calls first. If you don't care to wait, you can always go online and use NNPD Online and file the report. Now, I think it's important we point out that NNPD Online is not the same thing as Crime Line. This is not a tip line. It's not a way to report suspicious activity or crimes that are in progress. It's for filing a police report after the fact when you've been the victim of a crime. Now, again, there are a handful of people out there in social media land who are complaining that this system is just a way to turn neighbor against neighbor and generate tips, and they couldn't be more far from the truth. They are either misinformed that this system is truly a police reporting system when you're the victim, or they're folks who enjoy seeing crime go unreported and subsequently crime will go up. However, it's the position of the Newport News Police that we're going to continually look for new tools and new ways to stay better connected with our residents so that together we can keep Newport News safe. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your interest and your patience.